Okay, in today's video we're going to talk about filters. Excuse me, we're going to talk about backup filters, and uh, the whole goal of a filter is to reduce the number of files that you have to back up, or that you're going to be backing up, whether that be backing up online or backing up to a local USB drive or CD. The the goal of backing up is to back up the good data and to not back up all the other stuff that kind of goes with it. You could sort of think of it as a storage location. Let's say that you store all of your stuff, that you put pictures in your physical stuff, rather, your pictures, pots and pans, old shoes, resumes, books, everything into boxes, and then you take these boxes and you put them in a storage unit, and over the years you keep filling the storage unit with extra things. If you don't use an appliance anymore, you put it in a box and you take it to the storage unit. An old pair of shoes, you put it in a box and you take it to the storage unit. Or and you can see how over time this stuff is going to grow quite large, and you can have quite a big storage unit filled with things that really aren't important. Now, let's say that years later you want to go back and retrieve a family photo album with some baby pictures or a wedding picture, and you want to retrieve that data. Well, you've got to go to the storage unit, and now you've got to sort through all of these boxes to find that picture or to find that book that you wanted to reread. So backing up data is essentially the same thing. You don't want to back up all of the junk, all of the DLLs, all of the cookies, all of the temporary files, all of the program files. You don't want to back all of that stuff up, because when it comes time and you need to restore that, it's like looking through that storage unit for that one baby picture or for that one book. No matter how well you have things labeled in that storage unit, you still have to dig through all the boxes, you still have to find the box, you still have to go through the box and find out where that item that you want is. And again, data is the same way. And we can use filters to say to the program that I don't want to store old tennis shoes. I don't want to store old appliances. I want to store pictures. I want to store Word documents, resumes, things like that. These are the things that filters will allow you to do, and to make your data retrieval that much better. A lot of times people will look at filters and say, why bother? Um, you want to understand and know what is important to your data. If you don't know what is important to back up, then how are you going to know what's important to restore? How are you going to know that you are backing up something that is important? So understanding that basic principle of what is important to you, where that data lives, and what you can filter in or out can make things a lot easier when your hard drive fails, or when someone deletes a program and you need to go back in and restore it. If you click on the Backup tab and go to Settings, that will give the Advanced Settings box. We covered the Backup tab here in a bit of detail in other videos, and we're going to go over to the Filter tab and take a look at that. Starting at the top of the Filter tab is the Include and Exclude Filter File Mask. And what a file mask is, you've probably seen like a Word document, for example, it may be called, myresume.doc, or mypicture.jpg. That dot at the end of the file name, whether it's doc, jpg, gif, there's a whole litany of file extensions. It's that dot and then usually 3 or 4 letters after it on a file name. That is what associates a file with a program. For example, .doc, dog, Oscar, cat, is associated with Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word. So when Microsoft Word sees a .doc file, it knows that it can open it, it knows how. The Include and Exclude File Mask lets you go in and type in files that you either want to definitely include or definitely exclude from your backup set. You could use these one of two ways. If you know that you only want to back up office documents, say you've got a computer and the only thing you want to back up are your office documents, you don't want to back up anything else, you could go in and create an include filter that would include all of your office documents. Now you may have to look at Microsoft's website, or you may have to do a little research to find out what file extensions Microsoft Office uses. Those are two common ones, but you could easily set that up, and that's going to exclude everything else that you select for backup. If you select a folder that has XYZ files in it, they're not going to be backed up. Only these are going to be backed up that you include. The exclude wildcard filter mask works the same way, but in reverse. You can put in files and folders, or file extensions rather, that you don't want to back up. For example, .tmp, .hlps. There are a litany of ones of file extensions that don't do you any good to back up. We've discussed in other videos, if you need to replace some of these, like EXEs, for example, executable applications, it's always best to reinstall them from scratch, to reload the software from disk. TMP files are something that that may be created in the internet, like cookies and things of that nature. You don't need to back those up. They simply waste space, they waste resources, and using the exclude file wizard, the exclude file mask boxes here, can let you do this, just that. The format that you can put them in is asterisk, dot, and then the file extension, separated by a comma. And you can put any number of these in here. You can put in up to 255 characters long, and that comes out to about 40 to 45 file extensions that you can include or exclude in any one backup set. So it's fairly, I have never run out. I mean, I guess you could if you went to that 255 character limit. The big ones that you want to include or exclude are the ones that you use, or the junk files like the help and the TMPs. So that's kind of a how-to on getting those file mask include and exclude entries done. The filters are only going to take effect on this file job, the file job or the backup job or copy job that I'm currently working on. They're not going to bleed over into another job. So, for example, you could have a backup job that you went in and you wanted to set it up just to back up your DOCs and your XLSs. That's the Word documents and your Excel spreadsheets. You could set this up and then select your entire My Documents folder, and it would go through and it would only back up the DOCs and the XLSs in your My Documents folder. It's not going to let you pick anything else. You could then go in and create a new backup job. You could call this PDFs, for example, and you could put in that you wanted to include star.pdf, and then you could select your entire My Documents folder, and that would sort through your My Documents folder and back up only the PDFs. You could do this for any kind of file that you wanted to do, whether it be databases. It didn't matter. You could have as many backup jobs as you wanted, and each one could back up a different set of file types. So that's where that could come in quite handy. But it only applies, this filter here, this set here, only applies to the job we're working on now. It doesn't apply globally. So if I create another backup job later, these that I set for this job are not going to affect the second job that I create. The second box, the second section of the filter tab is going to let you sort things through or filter things by date, or by date created, date modified, and date accessed. I'll show you how that works. let's go in and date created. We're going to select this guy and we're going to change this. Instead of 2/16, we're going to call this we're going to put a date of April 20th, 2008, and we're going to apply that to our backup set. Okay, I've gone out to my backup set and selected my entire C drive. Again, that's a bad idea. Please don't do it. But for the sake of the demonstration, I've selected my entire C drive, and you can see here that these files here I can select, these two guys here. These other ones are excluded in the global default, so that's why I can't check them. But the NTLDR and the NTDetect, I can select those because the date is 4/14/2008. Now let's go back in there to settings, go to the filter tab, and include to. So in other words, I'm going to include everything from the very earliest file on my computer up to 4/20/2008. Now let's change that from 4/20 to 4/13/2008 and click apply, and that applies that filter to this backup job. And notice that the NTDetect NTLDR, whose file date is after that, it's 4/14, I can't select it. So it has filtered those dates out. Okay, so that's how that works. So you could do that just the opposite if you wanted to back up everything. Let's say that you install a machine, let's say that you're responsible for setting up PCs or servers, and you install a machine on January 1st of the year. You could set the filter so that you only want to back up jobs that are you only want to back up files that were created from the 1st on. You don't want to back up any kind of operating system files that may have been created in 2008. You only want to pick up jobs, you only want to pick up files that have been created since you put the server in. This would be an excellent way to do it. And we can apply that filter, and we can see that we cannot go in and select these guys because they were created before that filter. That's going to be part one of the tutorial on filters. Please follow up. We'll do another.